In my freshman year of high school, I encountered her when we were 14 years old. Throughout the first 3 years, our conversations were intermittent, but by senior year, we took our relationship seriously and started dating. Both of us were raised by devoutly religious parents, with mine being Christian and hers Muslim, leading us to both be virgins until we lost our virginity to each other. This experience bolstered my belief that she would remain faithful, as she didn't seem the type to cheat, yet I overlooked numerous warning signs. 4 months into our relationship, a hunch prompted me to check her phone while we were together in the car before my cross-country practice, where I discovered she had concealed messages with a guy on Snapchat. As I scrolled through her phone, she became noticeably anxious. Upon opening the messages, I only found his address saved in the chat, and when I confronted her about cheating, she persuaded me that although he had invited her over and sent his address, she never visited him and ceased communication thereafter. Despite my doubts, I accepted her explanation, and our relationship continued for another 2 months with minor issues, including her baseless accusations of me being unfaithful over trivial school incidents. 6 months into our relationship, she had been staying at her closest friend's house, whom we'll call P, for a few days, so I decided to visit as usual. As I was leaving, I encountered the boyfriend of her other best friend, Ty, who lived on the same street, and he entered my car, mentioning he needed to speak with me. Ty revealed that my girlfriend had been unfaithful with 2 guys the previous night, that she and P had been intimate with them and switched partners, and that she might have also been with her ex and another man, boasting about it to his girlfriend while he was present. I was devastated, feeling as if an explosion had occurred in my chest, unable to fathom that the girl I envisioned marrying could betray me in such a manner. After Ty shared this information, I reciprocated by informing him of his girlfriend's infatuation with a guy from our school, though nothing had transpired between them. We agreed to pretend ignorance until the following day when we planned to confront and break up with our girlfriends simultaneously. Throughout the day, anxiety consumed me, and I confided in Ty about the difficulty of maintaining normalcy in my texts to my girlfriend, which shattered my heart. Despite the emotional turmoil, I managed to reach the next day and maintain our routine of picking up my girlfriend from P's house, to avoid arousing her suspicions. The situation escalated when P, who had been flirtatious with me since I began dating my girlfriend, invited me into her sister's empty room while my girlfriend was upstairs, and proceeded to undress in front of me, revealing herself completely. My allegiance to my girlfriend had waned, so I entertained the thought, but nothing happened at that moment. A few hours later, at school, it was time to address the issue with our respective girlfriends, so I texted mine to confront her about her infidelity. Within 5 seconds, she located me in the hallway and began to freak out, claiming that Ty was overreacting about his girlfriend and that we would discuss our issues later. I was justifiably upset that she was prioritizing Ty and his girlfriend's problems over ours, so I disregarded her and walked away. Later that day, we gathered at P's house to discuss the matter, and she frantically tried to persuade me of her innocence, swearing on everything from God to her dog's life. She even claimed that her previous encounter with 2 guys at P's was initially coerced, but then she submitted because it was too late to resist. I was close to believing her until Ty's girlfriend confessed the truth to me, revealing that my girlfriend had been deceiving me, which she could no longer tolerate as it conflicted with her Christian beliefs. After confronting my ex for hours, she finally confessed to her lies, not wanting to lose me, although she maintained that she was coerced in one instance. She also admitted to sleeping with the man who sent her the address and with her ex shortly after, using my car without my knowledge. Naturally, I ended the relationship, and despite her dramatic pleas, I left her crying in the street. To summarize, P and I became intimate at her house the following day, a secret we initially kept from my ex until she discovered it, leading to the dissolution of their friend group post-graduation. Over the summer, my ex made several attempts to reconcile, and while I entertained the idea, she was secretly engaging with two men she had previously been with at Pease. Her friends promptly informed me of her actions, and despite her initial denials, she eventually confessed. Her friends also revealed messages where she expressed desperation not to lose me again, urging them to lie on her behalf. Following this, we ceased communication for some time, but ended up attending the same college, where she continued to pursue me. I learned to keep my distance emotionally, only occasionally meeting up with her casually. Her life spiraled as she turned to alcohol, made desperate calls to me, and faced numerous personal challenges, including health issues and academic failures. Despite her continued efforts to reconnect, I have no intention of rekindling our relationship, rendering her attempts futile. Regarding the reason I never blocked her, I did block her multiple times, but since we attended the same college, it was ineffective. She would consistently find me and threaten self-harm or other extreme actions to persuade me to unblock her. It's essential to remember that cheating is never excusable or defensible, no matter the circumstances. While it's understandable to feel betrayed and wounded, it's important to address the situation with maturity and consideration for all those involved. Seeking revenge or solace in the arms of another person's partner is neither a healthy nor a productive way to cope. Focusing on your own well-being and dedicating time to your personal growth and recovery is of utmost importance. It's positive that you ultimately left the toxic relationship and chose to create emotional distance from your former girlfriend. Establishing boundaries and prioritizing your own contentment and mental health should be your primary concern. Remaining in a relationship with someone who exhibits manipulative and harmful behavior is detrimental to both individuals. Let's move on to the next chapter. My husband was unfaithful, and his actions led to our divorce. I was married to my husband, James, for 16 years. I am 44 years old and James is 40 years old. Early in our marriage, around the 5th year, we encountered issues, and I sought a divorce because he seemed disinterested in our marriage. We both had full-time jobs, but I was left to handle the cooking, cleaning, and childcare alone after work, while he would simply relax and contribute nothing. I found myself repeatedly asking for his assistance, but he would delay until I ended up doing the tasks myself. The situation deteriorated to the point where I stopped requesting his help. Upon discovering I was expecting another child, I decided I would prefer to be a single parent to 2 children rather than continue with him. When I proposed divorce, he tearfully promised to change and to support me more, and to his credit, he did improve for about half a year. However, he reverted to his old habits, and over time, his behavior declined even further. Years later, while he was abroad for work, I was examining our bills and noticed an unusually high cell phone charge exceeding $2,000. 2 numbers were frequently dialed, and when I called them, one connected me to a younger woman he was having an affair with, and the other to her father. It turned out he had been seeing her for several months, had met her family, and falsely told them we were divorcing so that she, Lenny, could move back to the States and into our house. Lenny's father, Ed, informed me that she was pregnant with James's child and was a few months away from giving birth. When I confronted James over the phone, he hung up and rushed to his boss's office, from where they called me on speakerphone to arrange for his move out. That same week, I initiated divorce proceedings, and within 6 months, the divorce was finalized. He was humiliated and furious, resorting to calling me derogatory names and even wishing that I would end up destitute and living in a ditch. His mistress and their child moved with him to a job overseas as he attempted to build a life with Lenny and their son, but this arrangement did not last, and he eventually deserted them just as he had our children. To conclude on a brighter note, I enrolled my children in therapy. My eldest child resisted therapy and ultimately held me responsible for the divorce, but my youngest child flourished with the help of therapy. 7 years have passed, and we are now experiencing the happiest times of our lives. Occasionally, he reappears, insisting on co-parenting, but since he had no bond with our children prior to the divorce, it's too late for that now. Recently, I had to cut off all contact with him due to his temper and tendency to become verbally abusive. Let's consider the community's perspective. Slapnuts96 inquires, so he started another family, which means your children have a half-sibling. Do they keep in touch at all? The original poster responds, yes, they have a half-sibling. No, there's no contact. When the affair initially came to light, I reached out to Lenny, hoping she would communicate with me for our children's sake, but she informed James, who then instructed me to cease contacting her. Z Twilight inquires about the rationale behind his desire to discuss his affair over a speakerphone while his boss was there. I regret that your eldest child holds you responsible, but it seems you made the correct choice. With time, your son may grow to understand the circumstances better and appreciate the actions you had to take. It was beneficial for your children to see you stand up for yourself. The op responds, explaining that their ex-partner is in the military and preemptively spoke to his superiors, assuming the op would report him to get him into trouble. Ironically, the op had no knowledge of his boss and thus couldn't have informed on him. The OP's oldest child, now in their early 20s, remains steadfast in their viewpoint. They had behavioral problems as a child and blamed the op for instilling a sense of responsibility. Since their ex often excused their behavior, it's not surprising that the child took their side. Oldkey 5185 is curious to know if the eldest child still blames the op. They comment on the ex's character, noting that he sought his boss's support during a call, which suggests the boss might have been aware of the situation. They ask if the op has spoken to Lenny's father since and express hope that the op is now enjoying life with their children. The op confirms that they haven't spoken in years and that their eldest child, now an adult, lives independently. The op recounts an incident where the ex was verbally abusive and revealed that the oldest child had been in touch with him since being kicked out, which the op clarifies never happened. The child had lied for sympathy and financial gain. The op acknowledges their oldest child's behavioral issues, which the ex would either excuse or blame on others. They also confirm they haven't spoken to the child's father again and have distanced themselves from the situation for their mental health. The op and the youngest, who is 16, now live a stress-free life with the help of therapy. It's regrettable that the ex-husband approached the situation so confrontationally, seeking his boss's backing instead of communicating directly with the op. His actions during the divorce, including his lack of accountability and refusal to take responsibility, were problematic. When children are caught in the middle of such disputes, they may place blame on one parent or the other. Nonetheless, it's important to remember that the op prioritized their children's well-being and pursued therapy to aid their emotional growth. Over time, the eldest child may gain a clearer understanding and a more neutral perspective on the situation. The op decided to cease communication with Lenny and her father to safeguard their mental health. Prioritizing one's own happiness and creating a peaceful environment for oneself and the youngest child is essential.